Before we start this video, it's a bit of a low quality video. My webcam is zoomed in. I want to show my steering wheel so you can see my hands and I can explain what happens a bit better, but the capture is a bit old school, but you know. Hello everybody, AC EVO again. After the absolute first hour, I spent a lot more time and effort today, so I can give you sort of my very preliminary yes, English. Very good at that. So, what do I feel after trying it a bit harder, driving the BMW E46 CSL a bit more of the NSX, but mainly this Ninja bastard Mega F40 maximum boost, perfect track conditions is what I spent like 5 hours doing. Getting to know the physics a bit better, updated my wheel software. I was on ancient software and now with the new SimiCube tuner software, some cool new features there. Also some sort of a non-linearity input-output curve, so I made the off-center response a bit snappier, which helps. Doesn't fix the issues I'm still feeling, but so it did help. And I went first to the default settings suggested by Kunos. So yeah, that did improve the force feedback to a degree, but didn't really fix all my issues. So we'll talk about that later. Mounted a small wheel because it makes it a little easier to play around with when things get sideways. It's lighter, it responds faster. So that also helps, even though it's not necessarily all that realistic. I spent hot lapping the day here. Optimum track conditions, maximum boost. And I'm down to a 37.9 and I came from a 38.3. So I think if I smooth it out a bit, you know, I can do better. I'm not sure if I can do a 36. I'm sure some of you can, but I hope that means, you know, I don't suck at the game anymore. That's a pretty decent time, I hope. Maybe it's not. Post your laps below and humble pie will be eaten. So what do I think then after like a proper day driving various cars? Well, there is like a super split opinion. There is love on the one side and frustration on the other side. And I will try to explain it a little bit. The love part comes from pushing this car up to a point. Is great fun. It moves around a bit. You have to be very careful, mainly with the throttle. And it is a nice challenge to do that. And you know, the reason the sort of the odor here isn't amazing is because I've been trying hard and really enjoying that. And now I'm forcing myself to stop at a 37.9 because I know this, you know, it's 8 o'clock now. If I think, maybe I can do a 38.5, then the time will go like warp drive and will be somewhere past midnight. I'm thirsty, everybody's gone to bed. And then at some point the sun is gonna come up and I'm sitting here, what just happened? And on top of all that, I still wouldn't have improved my time because, you know, you get a bit fatigued after a while. So I'm stopping now at 37.9. Try to see, you know, is that a good time or not? I don't know. It felt fast, but it's new game to me. I hope I don't suck anymore anyway. So I drove a few cars like the E46 as well, and then there are some overriding feelings still. But I'm also sure that the joy I had here, to a maybe lesser extent because those cars are less mental, that up to a point, this is very good to drive, very fun to drive. You can push up to a point. The car does move and is controllable up to a point. And if you go, you know, you don't go above that point, you have control, you can go fast. And I blame myself most of the time for my mistakes. And it's a real fun challenge, and you know, the time warp thing might happen if I don't stop. So that's really, really positive, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Performance as well is a lot better than AC Rally actually, on my super low-end system, which is not important, but even the, you know, that is a compliment because they went for their own engine, and at this point it looks a lot sharper and runs better than the Unreal 5 interpretation of AC Rally. So you have to give credit to that as well on this low-end system, low-end graphics card really. So that's all quite positive, but you know me, we cannot just be positive. So yeah, I said there were like two camps of thought, like frustration and brilliance, and the brilliant part we just had. The frustration comes, and it's the same with all cars, it manifests itself a little differently. Up to a point is where the cars are controllable. Beyond that point, I don't even try. It is so hard to control the snaps that can easily happen. Not after 5 hours of hot lapping and knowing sort of exactly what sort of throttle you can apply. And there is a little bit of, you know, wiggle room and you can push. But if the slide gets out of hand, there is a point where I just don't even try. I'm just gonna spin all the time. I can avoid it because I'm very skilled. No, well, I don't know. I learned to avoid it, but I can only push to a point. And that is a little weird. Trying to steer minimally and trying to avoid oversteer. And that's the sort of the pushing that you do is more with the right foot, and you know, that's a moment you can have, and that I have no idea. Okay, probably still cold tires. It can happen so suddenly and so easily, and I'm not really paying attention, and that's why I did my hot lapping not talking. So it is somewhat forgiving, this car, and I can push it, but it's the switch that I find difficult. And part of the problem is it seems like if it steps out, so that the opposite lock doesn't work. Now maybe we play that in slow motion, and this is bad driving, I understand that, but it almost seems like, okay, I feel the back end come, and I'm a pro bad right footer, so that has happened to me a lot in a lot of sims. I apply my opposite lock, and it's as if that is almost not registering. So the trajectory of the car almost doesn't change, and then I'm seeing that and I'm thinking, oh, that's not good, more opposite lock. And by that time it's out of hand, and the force feedback still isn't quite snappy enough to help me and do the work for me. So once I reach that point, it feels my opposite lock is not responsive enough, and that's the same in the E46 and in the NSX. And in this car, of course, this is mental, and I fully expect to be binning this car a lot, and I don't expect my driving skill to be able to save everything. It's just that the zone where you go from, yes, I can push until this point, and then there isn't just any chance in the world for me, for my skill, and I've got low input lag and a good frame rate, then no way to save it at that point. And I think that's the frustration now, that I would like that to be more progressive. I don't want to just be like insane sideways everywhere with you know, my thoughts somewhere else. Of course you have to be awake, but it almost feels like the opposite lock, the first 45-90 degrees of opposite lock, once the rear start to go, as if that opposite lock doesn't register or something. So that's the frustrating part with all. It's different with the cars a little bit, but it's sort of also the same. It seems like an underlying tire model, force feedback, physics, probably decision, because I do remember them saying they wanted the cars to be more difficult than AC1, and I think they have a point. But maybe, according to me anyway, they went a bit far with the trickiness after a certain point. And maybe it's not even the trickiness, it's just the lack of communication that I get from the steering that I do. Physically doesn't seem to help enough, you know, it's just a feeling that I have. Force feedback maybe could be a little snappier. So if it communicated that oversteer with the first little bit of opposite lock a bit better, and if it helped already the first 45-90 degrees opposite lock, then maybe your slide wouldn't get out of control so bad. So maybe the tire grip levels and the sliding grip and stuff is all correct, but it just doesn't progressively announce itself and allows steering to help you control it. Of course, there's the throttle model, which is still, I think, the old model. It would help a little bit if that's better as well, but I've also tried quite a few setup changes, and it is such a dominant feeling, that rear end stability that can go at any time, and you really have to learn how to avoid overstepping the line, that going from full soft rear anti-roll bar, which should make the rear more less oversteery, to a stiff rear anti-roll bar, almost it made a difference. The car turned in a bit better, but it was subjectively almost the same sort of willing to accept the throttle. So it seems to be a really sort of a fundamental thing that they either decided or is maybe still something that can be improved. I don't know if they are fully happy with that. But it is so dominant that setup changes don't really make as big a difference as I feel they might have to do. So here, there, you know, that is laggy. It feels a bit delayed, but that's fairly controllable. But that was under that point of no return. I've got very cold tires now, I'm aware. Let's warm them up a little bit. Here it's got to be super careful. And I'm quite nervous on the steering, because I know that I have to be very alert for cues of impending, what is it? Soon to become oversteer. Off throttle into those turns, and here as well. You see that? Ooh, it was busy getting out of control there. But we're still very cold. The funny thing is though, when I'm pushing to go fast, I don't really spin out at all, because I know what the car will do. So I know to avoid the situations that are not under my control. So it's not frustrating in the sense that you, like what I experienced with iRacing, for example, that I just cannot control going over the limit every now and then I just spin around. It is controllable here. I know what to do to not spin, but I'm still aware of it, and I feel it is really harsh for all the cars beyond a certain point. And I have to be a bit more alert, and I can rely a bit less. You see that? Yes, that's opposite lock and that's controllable, but it was a small moment, and I think I lifted, and I had to. I couldn't keep the foot down there. Another little gripe with this car: you can 100% brake and not lock up, so that's a shame. It would have taken a lot more skill to control the car slowing down if the brakes were more powerful and you could lock them up. So that's, I'm a bit sad to see that these brakes are not powerful enough. It takes the skill element out of braking mostly. But so you see, it's almost there. Again, I can avoid it. I'm doing this on purpose now. The car started to go opposite lock. It almost didn't affect the trajectory of the car. And maybe that is because the rear tires are getting super hot and they dominate the loss of grip. But that's what can happen quite easily, that it's as if your opposite lock doesn't react as quickly and do as much as you would think. So yeah, mixed. Really fun, actually literally to push this car and spend hours doing that, up to that point where I just have no control over the cars and I don't understand what to do beyond a certain point. And at that point I still feel there is a lack of responsiveness in the force feedback, but I also think that is a underlying tire model physics thing, because it's the same in all cars, of course a bit less extreme in some of the other cars. So yeah, those are my feelings. I do thoroughly enjoy it, but that I have to avoid pushing and like being a hero. And maybe that's in a way is realistic, because plenty of people do like tank slappers on their track day, and I'm not saying that I should have the skill to just go sideways everywhere in full control. But I would expect there to be a bit more reaction to the opposite lock, and maybe if that happens with force feedback and physics changes, then you can avoid the super big slides that are now almost unavoidable beyond a certain point. Looking forward to what they do in the future. I really look forward to free roam. If they do free roam, I do hope they improve a few things, like minor-ish things. So I have the damper and the dynamic damper on, and people said that gives you the static steering forces. Now there is a little bit, but if you play guess which game, AMS1, R-Factor 1 with real feel, you get that rubbery feeling where it's really heavy and then it springs back. But if you go beyond a certain point, it doesn't spring back to center anymore. It feels nice, so I can imagine, I don't know, free roam when you go to a parking spot or something. I don't know if you can get out of the car and walk like around the Nürburgring. No idea what they will do. But that standstill force feedback, I would like that to be more like R-Factor 1 with real feel or AMS1, and maybe other games have it as well. I don't play that many games. Super minor niggle, but that open world driving is just something that will appeal to me. The narrow roads, I think some of the cars are more suited to it as well. So that will be great. The throttle model, I also want that, you know, to improve, because with free roam, maybe there's a lot of start-stop driving as well. And it would be nice to be able to drive away smoother. So plenty of things I would like them to improve, but already this is properly fun and challenging. But that limit up to which it is fun and challenging is what I'm not so sure about, and I'm not sure if it's a conscious decision and this is exactly how they want it, or they would sort of agree that maybe it's a bit too abrupt and hard to control now. I don't know, let's see what happens in the future. And now we'll end with my 37.9, and maybe if there's another good lap in there, I'll show you 2 laps. I'm sort of searching for the, you see, I'm so much searching for the opposite lock that works, and it almost seems like my opposite lock doesn't change the trajectory. That's my least favorite word of the car. So there is that nervousness. You can see me being behind the car, so to speak. And that's just pushing a little bit harder, and you can see already see, that looks pretty good, but at times it works, but a lot of the time I'm really searching for the opposite lock and looking for what the car does, if I need more or less, and I'm sort of chasing the car, and that's not gonna work in a powerful car like that. And then this is so easy to do as well. So here's my 37, and it is a bit messy still. So you can just brake 100% downshift early, no locking tires, that's a shame. So that's really a lacking skill element, makes it easy to brake just 100%. You know, feeding in the throttle, avoiding too much slip. And then letting go of the brake a little bit so you can turn. Tippy toeing, a bit afraid, you know, that's about the maximum oversteer I can take. Here off throttle is nice and rotating. It accepted the power there, quite nice. Here tippy toe 80-90% throttle. Bit of a moment, like a wiggle, but I'm still down. And a bit too fast in, and I could really take more of the curb on the left, so I think you can easily take a few tenths there. Bit squirmy on the brakes. Here off throttle is pretty good, you can avoid the slides. And here, a big moment. I just have to let go of the throttle and then catch it again. But even though, you know, you see multiple mistakes, this is a 37.9, quickest I did. Yeah, you can see there my best lap was still messy, and I'm sure you can go a lot faster, but I kept it under control, and then pushing a bit harder. You saw what happened with sort of the tank slappers and the lack of control. So that is like, it feels 1% pushing difference away, although you can keep it below that point. Anyway, that was my somewhat maybe not slow lap. Humiliate me with your 35 in the comments. So that's AC EVO for a while. I won't check back like every update, but maybe when there are a few versions, a few updates down the line, we'll try it again. Thanks for watching. Hope this was informative. If it wasn't, tell me why. If I missed something, tell me why. That's it. Bye bye.